Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to another episode of Retro Flashback, showcasing gaming's roots for a new generation. Today, we're going to be taking a look at another very early NES classic. We are looking at Excitebike. Oh, yes. This is another very early launch-era NES game that has a very fond place in many people's hearts, myself included. This game was actually the first time I ever touched a Nintendo Entertainment System. It was at a video rental place in Renfrew, Ontario. My parents and I were passing through Renfrew on some family road trip, and there was a guy there who had a couple of brand new NES consoles set up and was basically renting time to play them. And he had a selection of games, one of which was Excitebike, and I spent a good half an hour with it and was totally entranced by it. This is a really awesome game that, as basic as it still holds up pretty well to this day, actually. And while this is an easy one to talk about, I don't have to go into a lot of detail because it's a simple game, and well, I've had kind of a long day today, so I wanted to do something a little easier on the old brain pan there. So let's get this started off. So you got two modes of play in this. You have basically the solo mode, which is what I'm in right now, and you have another mode where you are basically playing against computer-controlled opponents. And those computer opponents can... basically, their aim is to try to run you off the track. Wow, I'm not doing well here. It's been a while since I played this one. So the computer opponents can either attempt to run you off the track, or you can just play solo, where your goal is to just set the best time you can here. And as you can see, what you're doing is very, very simple. You are trying to accelerate over these various different track obstacles, and you're trying to aim your rider, which you can control with the D-pad, in such a way that he both gets the biggest air off of the obstacles and lands as flat as possible on the ground, so that you will gain as much time as possible without wiping out, as I've been repeatedly doing here. So there's only two buttons. There's basically your accelerate button, which is this normal one here, and there's this button, which is basically a turbo button that makes some really obnoxious noises. So the turbo button doesn't actually make you go any faster, but it gives you the means to scale objects a little bit better. But as you can see there, oh yeah, new record. Crisscross and make you jump. I'm sorry, too soon? Sorry. Anyway. So you're fighting against the clock, but the other thing you're fighting against here is you don't have fuel or anything like that, or even full-on durability on your bike, but you do have engine temperature, as you see there. So when you are running at normal speed, as I am right now, you see that your temperature is normal. But when you use your turbo function, you're starting to overheat your engine, and you can see there that the game will very obnoxiously tell you when you're starting to get too hot, and if you continue to push too hard, this is what happens. So the game pulls you over, and it's just like, oi, you overheated, sorry, to the side with you. You don't have to pit or anything like that, but if you do overheat, you will very clearly lose some position, both on the clock and especially if you're playing against computer-controlled players. So the way you can mitigate that is either by just managing how often you use your turbo, or by running over those little chevrons there, which are basically, in most racing games, those would be like a temporary speed-up point, you know, the kind of thing where you get a little turbo boost. It doesn't do that in this case. All it does is give you a boost of cooling. Quickly cools off your engine so that you have the ability to keep your self-motor in there. Jump. So, there are 5 built-in tracks into the game, and I'm just progressing through them. The tracks obviously get harder and harder and harder as you go, and you see now we're doing a little bit of a Twilight race. I just thought that little cameraman in the back was cool, and as you can see, the objects that you're traversing get rather ridiculous. This game is already coming back to me, though, pretty quick. I haven't played this in a long time, but I put so many hours into this game, despite its relative simplicity. I mean, you can tell... overshot that one. So, I mean, as you can tell here, this game is very much an NES launch era title because it's graphically very simplistic. There is basically no music except for the menu option, or the menu music, and that little interlude in between races there. That's basically all there is to it. Ah, bugger. So, there's no real music. The sound effects are very primitive and pretty grating, to be honest with you. So it's very simple, but mechanically, I keep doing that. Mechanically, this game is absolute top shelf. It's very, very solid. You know, its gameplay ideas are very, very simple, but they are easy to learn, hard to master, and God, if this game still isn't a whole batch of fun. Obviously, there's a million different and more complicated games in this genre that have come out since. I mean, probably the most modern analog to this, if you want to call it that, would be something like the Trials series, which, as good as they are, I mean, that's like Excitebike on crazy steroids. I mean, those games are unbelievably hard. So you can see what I'm doing here. Those little obstacles are things you're actually just supposed to quickly roll over. They will slow you down or derail you if you're going too fast when you go over them, but you can just quickly tip your bike like that and wipe out because I'm not paying attention. Or you can just go straight over them. I gotta get through there. There we go. So as you can see, using the turbo doesn't actually give you a speed boost to how your bike is progressing on the track itself. It just gives you sort of an extra kick when you're going over obstacles. And that's a really important factor when you're figuring out how to manage your temperature, because you don't need to be constantly holding turbo. Like doing it here, it's doing nothing for me. It's raising my temperature, but it's doing no good. So you want to balance alternating between regular speed or regular gas and turbo gas when you're about to crest objects like that, because that's what gives you the extra big boost there. As you can see, I didn't quite do it well enough, but you see what a difference that makes. There we go. So you see I'm not doing too well in this. It always shows you the third place time, not the first place time, and you see I'm already crossing that, so I'm gonna bomb this one. And the best time displays on the back screen there. Yay! I'm a fail. And I game over as a result of that. And that's that. So, now I'm going to show you what I think is really some people say the solo mode is better, but I think this is where the real fun is, because you can wipe out these drivers if you hit them right. Let's do this. So it'll always look like they take off, but the computer... Oh, yeah, you hit them in their front wheel, and that's what you do. You wipe them out. Now, they can do that to you as well, of course. So, it looks like you're only fighting against 3 other computer opponents, but in reality, the field is constant. So, no matter how far into the race you are, you can never lap guys, you can never get out in front of guys. There will always be other computer players on the field in front of you, so they're really constant obstacles. And as you can see there as well, even the mechanic for where you wipe out has a little bit of depth to it. You can either just sit and wait for your guy to run back to his bike, or if you button mash, in what is probably one of the earliest examples of a QuickTime event, you can speed up his running back to the bike. You can also run over other riders, but the game doesn't. The game will punish you for that. So, oh my God, I am really not doing well here. These guys are very random, as you can see with their progression. They really don't follow any strategy. They just sort of randomly shift between lanes, and that can definitely make this mode pretty challenging at times, because you can't really predict their behavior. They're always going to be jutting around, so you've really got to pay attention and make sure that you're not... You can see the depth of some of the jumps you can get here. So you've really just got to be paying attention and make sure that they stay out of your lane. Well, I still came in third there at least. So as you can see, this mode can be quite a bit more challenging. Yay, I'm a bronzer. Oh, well, I get to progress anyway. So yeah, this is a very, very simple game, to put it mildly, but it is still mechanically damn solid and really, really good. I mean, probably the closest analog to this, as I was talking about before, is something like the Trials series, but the Trials series takes the mechanics of this game and just adds in absolutely insane complexity and difficulty to it. I mean, the Trials games are amazing, don't get me wrong, and they are deep like you wouldn't believe, but they will step on your throat repeatedly and make you beg for mercy while you're doing it. This game is, needless to say, quite a bit more forgiving, and quite a bit more forgiving on you. And it's still great to this day. You know, there are not a lot of companies out there that can have, you know, what was a fairly basic concept game designed to sell as a cheap add-on with their system back in the day and still have it hold up so well today. Nintendo is most certainly one of those companies. There are others that could do it, but there are so many launch era games from the NES. You know, like Balloon Fight is another game I did a couple of weeks ago, and Balloon Fight holds up very well to this day as well, and it's no different with Excitebike or, you know, the Mario games or Duck Hunt or what have you. There's just, Nintendo knows how to make super solid games that have longevity. Wow, I killed that one. Sweet. Damn right I'm a winner. I will try the next track. And this game is still just a ton of fun. It does not have a lot of depth, but it does have depth, but it doesn't have a lot of variety, I guess, shall we say. But once I bomb this race, which I'm undoubtedly going to do, I'm going to show you where it can have a substantial amount of replayability, and yes, indeed, depth, actually. And I'm also going to show you one of the real, oh yeah, nailed that double jump. I'm going to show you one of the really cool benefits you get out of playing this on the Virtual Console, which is where I'm playing it. In addition to the normal benefits you get from a Virtual Console game, this is, as you probably saw because of my clumsy button press earlier as well, this is the Wii U Virtual Console. This is available on the regular Wii Virtual Console as well. I actually paid the buck to get the transfer upgrade for this version because I just wanted to be able to play this game on the Wii U gamepad. But there's a really cool thing that Nintendo did that I think is just a luscious attention to detail that I'm going to show you. Yeah, take it. That they did in this version that is really, really cool. I'll probably just bomb this mode here so that I can show it to you. Actually, no, I didn't bomb it. I actually nailed it again. Alright. Much as I'd love to keep going through here, I might be here all night, so let's just make this simple. I'll actually bring this up for a reason this time. Let's just reset this sucker. Alright, so here's the neat thing. This was one of the earliest games, especially on the Nintendo Entertainment System, to feature a track editor. And this is really awesome. Primitive, to put it mildly. Oh my, yes. You can actually see here a track that I designed before. So we're gonna clear this out. So you definitely are going to need access to the manual for this, which you can get with these electronic versions of it, or you can just find it online if you want, because all of these different lettered objects here are various track objects, as you can see. And the way you design your track is very simple. You place your objects down, you move your rider forward, and you place additional objects. And you go along until you either choose to stop or until you run out of space. So this obviously is a god-awful track that will appeal to exactly no one, but I'm just going to create something simple here. And when you're done it, you tell the game, and this I really like, you tell the game, so it places your finish, and you tell it how many laps you want. You can do up to 9 laps, which is really cool. None of the tracks in the base game progression offer this, but this one does, and I think that's really neat that you can do that. So let's just do 2 here. Okay, and now you can play it just like you would in the main game. This is going to be actually pretty amusing because I think the AI is going to be like, "Where have you brought us? What apocalypse is this?" No, they're actually going to handle it better than I am. Well, shut my mouth. They're not going to handle that. Whoop. And there's one lap. 15 seconds. We are the god of Excite track racing. Pit crew's like, dude, what are you doing? And there we are. Yay! And you see, based on the, you're sort of setting the new times here, and it's game overing because I only did that one thing. Now, unfortunately, you can only have one track at any given moment in this game, which is kind of unfortunate. But you know, there were limitations of hardware back in the day. But here is the really cool addition to the Virtual Console edition. Now, you see these two save and load options. So what happened was, when this game originally came out back in, what was it? Back in 1984, I guess, is when this came out. What actually happened was, when this game came out in Japan at least, there was an option for the Famicom, which was the Japanese version of the Nintendo Entertainment System. It had something called the Famicom Data Recorder, which was basically a tape recorder, a tape drive add-on. Yes, for those of you too young to remember, back in this era, a lot of computers and indeed some Japanese game consoles, this is before floppy disks were popular even, they used actual audio cassettes to record data to. It was recorded as sound and read back as sound. It was slow as hell and it was unreliable, but people totally did it, and it worked. And they had this for the Famicom in Japan, and using this save and load function, you had the ability to save a track to a tape and load it back in later if you either modified it and didn't like it or wanted to shut the game off and come back to it. The Famicom Data Recorder never got a US release, so these save and load options actually didn't work on the NES, and it was actually written in the manual that it basically said, hey, the manual said something like, these options are not available, and they're programmed for, what did they call, potential developments, I believe is what they said, which was basically like, well, maybe we'll bring out the Famicom Data Recorder here, but probably not. But we don't want to have to release another version of this ROM to take those out, so there we go. But guess what you get in the Virtual Console edition? Check that out. It actually works. And I tested it before I did this recording. It totally friggin' works. If you did that on an NES, it would just say saving or loading in perpetuity. I remember when I was a kid and I first rented this game and I actually didn't get the manual with it, I actually told it to save and turn my TV off and left my NES on all night, thinking that maybe it just took a really long time to save. And I came back in the morning and it just kept saying saving, saving, saving. But the save and load function totally works on the Virtual Console edition, and I think that is just so friggin' cool. Like, they didn't have to do that. I mean, who's gonna really use it even? You know? And yet they threw that in there just for that level of attention to detail. I think that is where I think the Virtual Console really has some inherent value. Yes, it's overpriced. You know, yes, if you don't own this game already on the Wii Virtual Console, it's going to cost you like $5 to get it, which is insane for what this is. But they really, you can tell that whoever is overseeing the Virtual Console and put this into it really put some love into it. You know, the original US edition of this game did not have save and load functions, and no one would have held it against anybody at Nintendo if they left that out. And they totally didn't. He actually went, no, you know what? We can make this work using the technology that we have available to us in this emulation, and we're going to put it in there and add that little thing in, so it just takes your nostalgia one little trip further. And I think that's just so cool. And this is a great game. It still holds up to this day. It is still a lot of fun. And I think it's an NES classic, one that anyone who wants to familiarize themselves with the NES or just have a little bit of fun would really enjoy. There were versions, there was a version of Excitebike for the N64, which I've actually never played. I should aim to rectify that someday. And there also was sort of a modern-day reimagining of Excitebike that was released by Monster Games for the Wii, or for WiiWire actually. It's a downloadable title called Excitebike World Rally. I've never played that either, but I've been told it's pretty good. Monster Games also did 2 games that were kind of in the same spirit, but not really, called Excite Truck and Excitebots Trick Racing, which were retail Wii titles. Excite Truck is actually a lot of fun. It was critically panned and didn't deserve it. And Excitebots I've never played, but apparently that's a lot better. I'm going to look to see if I can find that used somewhere or something, I think. But yeah, that is Excitebike, published and developed by Nintendo in 1984 for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Wonderful game, wonderful fun times, and yeah, the Virtual Console Edition is the way to play it, because you get all those added benefits, plus you get the awesome save and load feature. There is also a 3D enabled updating of this game available on the 3DS eShop. I haven't played that either, but it's just this game with some added 3D in it. It's kind of cool. If you've got a 3DS, that might be the way to play it as well. But definitely check this out. It's good fun and a staple of the NES. My name has been Parallax Abstraction. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.